Welcome back to another episode of Bad Books with Ben. Please give a warm welcome to your host, Ben the Banker.
Hiya, kids! Today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite childhood novels, the kid-friendly novel Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. It follows the life of Billy Pilgrim, a guy who time travels repeatedly through multiple times of his life. At one point, Billy's abducted by the alien race, Tralfamadorians, but we'll get to that later. Billy was born in 1922 in New York. He's old. After graduating high school, he went to school to study optometry. Then, Billy was suddenly drafted for World War II. After he got there, his dad died in a hunting accident. Aww. After that, Billy was taken prisoner by the Germans. Ew. When Billy was discharged from the army, he went back to school for optometry. During his senior year, he got engaged to Valencia Merble, a rich girl with a great personality. Soon after, he had a mental breakdown. Whoa! But the hospital gave him some shock therapy and he got all better. After that, Billy had sex with Valencia and out popped two kids, Barbara and Robert. Then, Billy was in a plane crash and he was the only survivor. Yay! But while Billy was in the hospital, his wife died of accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. Aw, shucksville. But wait, hey kids, who likes aliens? Great! Because next, Billy gets abducted by the Tralfamadorians, an alien race that put Billy in a zoo naked with a movie star named Montana Wildhack. They were forced to have sex. But the Tralfamadorians also taught Billy about time. This is where the author introduces the ideas of perception and absurdism. Cool, right? So the Tralfamadorians taught Billy that all moments, past, present, and future, always have existed and always will exist. This means that we perceive our life as a series of events in order, but the Tralfamadorians see their life as a whole, jumping back and forth from past to present to future. So, when someone dies, the Tralfamadorians just say, "So it goes," because they know that they are alive in another moment in time. So kids, how does this apply to our lives? Well, Kurt Vonnegut, the author of this totally cool book, is trying to tell us that we perceive our world in the way that we want to in order to make us happy. You see, Billy has a rough life, but suddenly things get better when he sees the big picture. So kids, can anyone tell me what narration is? Great! Because of the strange view that Billy has in the world, Kurt Vonnegut chooses to use a strange narration style where he jumps from past, present, and future. This narration style helps to emphasize the disjointedness of Billy's thoughts. He is in a constant state of stage fright, he says, because he never knows what part of his life he's going to have to act in next. This confusion also helps to emphasize the idea of absurdism and takes away all the suspense in the plot. Also, it separates the character from the events because it's almost like he's not living them himself, but simply narrates the events of his own life. Another thing that Kurt Vonnegut talks about is the idea of free will and predetermination. Can any of you tell me what predetermination is? Well, almost, but not quite. Predetermination is basically just fate set in advance. In the novel, Billy explains that everything is all right, and everyone has to do exactly what he does. He learned that on Tralfamador. What Billy means by this is that our lives have already been lived. We only have to live them out the way that they are determined. When Billy was taken by the aliens, he asked them if they were as crazy as humans, and they said they were. They even told Billy how the world was going to end. When Billy asked if they could prevent it, because they knew how it would happen, the Tralfamadorians said, "We always let him, and we always will let him. The moment is structured that way." Could Vonnegut be saying that there is no such thing as free will, and that tragic events are unavoidable and will happen despite our constant steps to prevent such incidents? Nah, I think it's just a funny story about a weird guy. So, who thinks this is a cool story so far? Great! You know what would make this story even cooler? If Billy were making the whole thing up! Near the end of the novel, Billy starts talking about this book that he read before he was abducted that describes almost the exact same situation that he went through. A man and a woman were taken to an alien planet and put on display in a zoo. But I believe Billy because do we ever really know the truth? Or is the truth just a construct of our mutual perception of that truth? Also, if we all perceive the truth to be one thing, doesn't that make it the truth? The truth is, Kurt Vonnegut never tells us whether Billy was hallucinating when he was abducted or not. So, we must choose what we believe with the information that we were given, and find some meaning in that. Now, we all know that Billy was a soldier, and Vonnegut uses this as a way to show us his problems with the devastations of war. This is known as a contemporary issue. Can anyone tell me what a contemporary issue is? Good! Well, before Billy was abducted by aliens, he watched a movie about war backwards. And instead of killing people, soldiers actually brought them back to life. And the weapons were dismantled, and the evil elements were put back in the ground. The minerals were then shipped to specialists in remote areas. It was their business to put them into the ground, to hide them cleverly so that they would never hurt anybody ever again. This weird twist in time that allows Billy to watch the movie this way helps show Vonnegut's view of war being a result of multiple steps mankind has taken to stray away from the perfect humans, Adam and Eve. Remember last week's edition of Bad Books with Ben when we talked about Diary of a Madman by Lu Xun, that Chinese guy? Well, the themes in these two works are very similar and are a great representation of modernist and postmodernist ideas. In Diary of a Madman, the narration is done by the madman while he is going through severe mental breakdowns and paranoia. This clouds the truth in the story and makes the reader question what the real truth is about the madman. We see the same thing in Slaughterhouse 5, like we talked about earlier, that due to Billy's confused mental state, we are unsure of the truth when Billy explains the events of his life. Postmodernism explains to us that there is a vast alienation of individualism, and this is present in both the short story and the novel, in the fact that the madman loses himself in his paranoia and mental breakdowns, and Billy loses himself in his delusions of the world and his unique perception of life. We also see existential ideas present in Billy's attitude towards life, like when he says, "So it goes," every time that somebody dies, or when he expresses that he had found life meaningless partly because of what he had seen in the war. Overall, Vonnegut and Xun express to their audience that our society is slowly alienating individuals, and there's no meaning to life except for the meaning that we put in it. Well, that's all for today, kids. I hope you had a great time on Bad Books with Ben. Next time we'll be talking about 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. See you then! We also see existential ideas. Gosh. Could Vonnegut be saying that there's no free will and that tragic... When I hear people laughing... Could Vonnegut be saying that there's no free will and that tragic events are unavoidable? Greg! During his senior year, he got engaged to Valencia Merble. Darn it! During his senior year, he got engaged to Valencia Merble.
I didn't even let that die.
Sorry. Alright.
3, 2.
During his senior year, he got engaged to Valencia Merble, a rich girl with a... Greg!